Hello students and welcome back. Today we will be drawing our landscape. Now, what you first need to do is get a large piece of paper. Then you're going to draw a line straight across that piece of paper. This line right here is called the horizon line. Now, what the horizon line does is it divides your background from your foreground. Or if you were drawing a beach scene, it would divide the ocean from the sky. So take a ruler and draw a horizon line first. Now, the horizon line should be a little bit more than midway on your paper. You don't want it too high because you need to leave space for the mountains. And you don't want it too low because then you won't have enough space for your middle ground in your landscape. Now, last week you practiced doing mountains. We're going to start with the mountains first. So after you have your horizon line drawn, you're going to work in the background and start making mountains. If you remember from the last video, we used the letter Y to make our mountain range. We're going to do the same thing now. When you're drawing your landscape, make sure you're using a pencil and you're drawing as light as you can. I will be pushing a little bit harder just so you can see in the video. Now, if we make that crooked backwards Y, that will divide our mountains and give the illusion that one mountain is in front of the mountain next to it. And again, when you're drawing mountains, you want to try to make them as wide as you can. It looks more realistic that way. We don't want mountains that are super steep and pointy. And you're going to continue adding your mountains, overlapping your shapes. Make sure to vary the size of your mountains. Don't make them all the same height. I think over here I'm going to place a larger mountain. Okay. Now once you draw your mountains, you do have the option to continue to draw mountains behind the existing ones to further increase the illusion of space or depth within your landscape. For my landscape, I'm just going to leave it like that. But if you did want to add a mountain in the background, it's very simple. And if you watched the video last week, you basically just go in between one of your mountain ranges. Okay, now we're going to get to the main part of this landscape, which is the cliff illusion. Now we're going to work on the side of our landscape first. Now to draw these cliffs, it's very important that you draw lightly because you may have to erase in case you make a mistake. Just want to show you on a piece of scratch paper real quick. When we're doing this cliffside illusion, say this line was the side of my paper, we need to come out from the middle of the paper and go inward, making V shapes, jagged V's. We don't want them to all be out the same distance. We want to vary how far these V's are coming out. They're going to look like this. Now, what you don't want to do is take that V all the way back to the edge of the paper and keep making spikes like this. This is wrong. That ruins your illusion. So, we're going to start on the side of our paper. Up near the horizon line, I'm just going to make a sideways V coming inward. And then I'm going to come back out towards the middle of my paper. Go back in slightly. Come out a little bit. Coming back in. Now when I feel like I'm done with my cliffs, I'm going to come back and go right to the edge of the paper. I want to leave enough space here to draw the inside of my cliff. So I end it the top of the cliff right before I got to the bottom of my paper. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And if you're confused, you can always stop the video, look at the example, or rewind it and watch it again. So starting from the horizon line, cutting inward with a V shape. This one I'm going to take out a little further. And then again stopping at the edge of the paper. Okay. Now if you did it right, you'll have these zigzag lines on each side of your paper. Your next step will be to go from each one of these points and to draw a line going down and back towards the edge of the paper. So to make that a little bit easier, I'm very lightly going to put a dot on each one of these points. Just a small dot. Okay, then from that point, I'm going to go down and towards the edge of the paper. But I'm going to make a shape that's going to kind of be like a letter C. It's going to curve inward. So I'm curving back and towards the edge of the paper. It's very important that your curve or your letter C is backwards. So you're curving down and towards the side of the paper. Taking that edge down towards the side. You never want to connect these points. Again, do not connect these points. It will ruin the illusion completely. So going down and back. That slight curve. Okay, now I'm going to come to the other side of the landscape and do the exact same thing. Again, I'm going to put a little dot on each tip of the cliff, so I know that's where I'm going from. And then I'm going to take that dot and inward and towards the edge of the paper, kind of in a C shape. Okay, now I have to be careful here that I don't connect these points. So I'm going to come out a little bit further before I curve. Same thing here. I don't want to connect these 2 points. So I'm actually going to come down and just at an angle. I'm not going to curve it back out towards the side of, or middle of the paper. I'm just going to leave it like that. Down. Again, this one, put a nice curve on that. And watch you don't connect your points. Now, if you have done this correctly, it's going to look like the top of a cliff, like something that was together and then broke apart, and you should see the inside or of the cliff ledges. That's very important. Okay, next step. We have our mountains, we have our cliffside. We need to draw something in our middle ground. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I want it to look like this is a desert scene with rolling hills. I'm going to take my ruler and draw another line similar to my horizon line, but it won't be my true horizon. This is my true horizon line. I'm going to draw a line there, and then I'm going to move down a little bit further and draw another line. Just like that. Okay, now, since this is my middle ground, I think I would like to put a road going through the center